that they have access to influential members of Congress who then take these conversations that they have with corporate lobbyists and then try to package them as bipartisan or objective it's shameful. It's shameful. And I think that it brings a lot of shame to our work as public servants. What is also, I think, particularly explosive about this is that a lot of people believe and already have an idea that there is this dark underbelly. There is an understanding that there is a dark underbelly of Washington that works this way. Rarely do we see it exposed in real time of current legislation right before us in Congress. We usually discover all of this years afterwards, and to see it admitted to right now as there is a reconciliation bill and a bipartisan infrastructure bill before the House that deeply undersells on climate and deeply fails in meeting the scale of the crisis. And to know that this isn't just about people trying to strike a deal, but that there is direct access that ExxonMobil is bragging about to potential clients, and their ability to do this is, I think it's explosive, and it says everything right there.
This idea that he has weekly check-ins with Senator Manchin, I mean, how does that make you feel?
That is the problem, is that people don't think that their elected officials serve them first and answer to them first. There is a widespread crisis of confidence and crisis of faith in our institutions because they think that the majority of elected officials answer to corporate lobbyists first and their constituents second. And that is not a democracy. That is, call it whatever you want. It's aristocracy, oligopoly, it's all of these things.
Were you surprised, as you mentioned there, that it was actually going on in real time as this critical legislation is attempted to be passed with COP26 coming up? That on the one hand you have companies like Exxon talking all about renewables and green and the future and working towards that, and then on the other you see the raw truth of how they view it.
I mean, here's the thing, money talks, and there's a business here that is just as forceful as the businesses on Wall Street, and the currency of the business here is access. There are parts of it that are personally shocking, because when you don't operate that way, you think to yourself, how could anybody in the similar position do this? I don't have a one-on-one weekly check-in with almost anybody except my own staff. And to have a standing commitment, not even to an industry, but to a specific corporation is, I mean, how many other one-on-one check-ins are there? And then if your staff is consumed with that, how much of your time is being separated between one-on-one check-ins with corporate lobbyists and casework, taking calls, and answering your constituent needs, hosting town halls, the actual true work of democracy?
So what does it say about the chances of Joe Biden getting through any meaningful change, reaching those targets he wants to reach by 2030 and 2050?
Well, I think what makes conversations like these important, especially when they are exposed in real time, is that it changes the political dynamics in real time as well. And so when dark is brought to light in the moment that they are trying to exert influence, when that is exposed in real time, it potentially influences the dynamics of the situation. And this is one of the big things that I have been arguing, because this is not just about climate change, this is also about democracy and voting rights. And right now there has been stalwart opposition among some of these very senators named by Exxon into passing the For the People Act. And for a very long time, people were trying to figure out why it was that this opposition was happening. And I have been saying that the opposition is not to voting rights. The opposition is to the fact that this is legislation that takes on corporate lobbying and dark money. And there's a lot of people that rely on that mode of operating here.
What do you think needs to happen now, having seen that, having seen the extent of what companies like Exxon are trying to finagle behind the scenes?
This is serious, because this is talking about whether our basic democratic rights can be purchased. And if our rights can be purchased, our democracy can be purchased, and if democracy is purchased, it is dismantled.